All right, what's up, YouTube? This is my official 2x, 2k, 2x KO wish list. It might be a little boring because I'm mostly not going to talk about like balance or anything. I'm going to talk about control stuff and UI stuff mostly. There's a little bit about gameplay, but it's mostly just nebulous. I'm not making the fucking game, so whatever. First thing, the burst input in this game is like no bueno. This thing is cursed. So you hit S1 plus tag or S2 plus tag to burst in this game, and it's tag game, has assists. So you're hitting the assist button in conjunction with other moves, and so these are your special buttons. So obviously you're gonna do this and call an assist, or you're gonna call assist and do a move or whatever. And you can press these two buttons at the same time and not get burst as long as you're holding a direction. So if you're neutral, you will burst. If you're holding a direction, you can do whatever. So if I wanted to do wind wall plus jinx rocket, I can just hold back and hit S2 plus assist and it'll come out. Problem is, if I hit that and I go, let's say I'm just gonna tap that input, I'm gonna get burst. So if I tap the input, if I hit back S1 and S2 and then let go of back a little too early, I'm gonna get burst. Even though I was hitting back before I hit the burst input, if I let it go within a certain window, I don't know how many frames it is, it just bursts. So at the very least, I hope it can be changed so that you have to be in neutral when you press the buttons, the half press, as it were. When you press down on them, you have to be at neutral. So as soon as I input this, I'm holding back and I press burst and I let go of burst, it should not give me a burst, hopefully. Now, at least the burst input, I've been able to avoid getting a lot of accidental bursts because I'm consciously like playing around it, because it's kind of like walking on eggshells. It's like, ooh, that's the burst input. I've got to be careful to not like fuck that up. So I've not gotten a lot of accidental bursts, but I have gotten a lot of accidental supers. And I realized that the super input, the leniency for hitting two buttons at the same time, is 6 frames. So to demonstrate, I'm gonna do S1. What is this? Medium plus S2 to do the Yasuo Tornado super. I'm gonna press S2 and then kind of piano. Let's see if I can get the input. Yeah, there it was. So I hit. If you look up here, I hit S2 for 5 frames, and then after 5 frames, I hit medium, and the super came out. So it's 6 frames total, which is like a ridiculous amount of input leniency. For reference, like most games, you don't have to hit the 2 buttons when you hit 2 buttons at the same time. You don't have to hit them on the same frame. Usually it's like adjacent frames. So if you hit medium, on the next frame, if you hit S2, like you'd get the input. Or sometimes maybe 1 frame apart. So you can hit medium and then 2 frames later you can hit the other one. 6 frames is like out of this world. Now, you could technically use this input leniency to do certain things. Like let's say I wanted to carry cancel my 3H into S1 super. I could like piano this and get S1 super, like do like 5 frames of my 3H into, so maybe there's some like edge case scenario, some weird combo where you have to do that. Well, you can still do it with the inputs, because I could just hit 3H and piano to jab plus S1 and still get it. So because of all the super macros, it's not gonna prevent anything functionally from reducing the leniency. And all these control things got me thinking, there's a lot of stuff in this game that you could customize potentially. So I think it would be cool if there was just an advanced controls menu where you can tinker with a lot of these things. So like the burst input, I would prefer my burst input to be S1, S2, and tag all together. Maybe you want your burst input to be all 3 attack buttons and S2, or you want it to be all 6 buttons on your controller, whatever you want. You should be able to customize that. I don't think there's any like downside to that. Same thing with the input leniency. If you want to have to hit the buttons on the same exact frame to do multi-button inputs, you should just be able to set that. Or like personally, I would probably have them like on like 2 or 3, like you're hitting on adjacent frames, or maybe like 1 frame more lenient. 6 frames is that's like crazy. The super inputs, I use L plus S1 to do super 1. I use medium plus S2 to do super 2. So this input and this input and this input And this input, I don't use any of those. I might as well just turn them off. All it's going to do is decrease the likelihood that I'm going to get an accidental input. Same thing for throw. You know, L plus S1 is your super one. Throw is medium plus heavy, right? A lot of people are used to like the Street Fighter input for throw. This is a common throw input in a lot of games. You can already do S1 super with 2 other macros, so I think, you know, you should be able to set this to throw if you want and just take it off a super if you're used to that. Or you can customize it even further if you want throw to be these 2 buttons, whatever. Dash input, there's 3 different dashes input. You can use light and medium, you can use the dash button, and you can use double tap forward and back. You know, like personally, I never use the buttons. I either use the dash button or I double tap. So I might as well turn off the light and medium macro. It, you know, like I'm sure a lot of players only use the dash button. They would, you know, prefer to just turn off everything except the dash button. Do whatever you want. So this is just some examples. I think I had some other ones. I forgot what they were, but you get the point. I can't read this shit. I don't think anybody can read this, especially on a smaller screen. Other people bitch about it. Just put an outline. The same thing in the training mode. In this training mode, when you have your like frame data turned on, the one in the upper left, when you have plus frames, this indigo blue is like on a lot of stages, like I think it's like the RE stage. It's like impossible to read this. Just put an outline. Just put an outline over everything. Just thin outline, just like the character names, you know? Sorry, the champion names. And then this is a minor one. Okay, so in this menu, and I think maybe this shows up in other menus, what is this green border? What is that? What is that? I don't know what that's supposed to be showing me. It's really confusing because I thought like, okay, that's where my cursor's gonna go. But I hit the button, my cursor's up here. I assume this is a bug. This has got to be a bug. It's been in the game for a while. I still don't understand what it's supposed to represent. I'm pretty sure it's just a bug because this has a green border and the white box. The green border isn't really even necessary. You don't need the green border. Just have the white box. Like every time I would go into this menu, I'd hit start into one of these. I go in and I'm like, my cursor's on block settings. I hit up and down. I'm like, fuck, why is it? I'm looking over here. You just get rid of the green border altogether. I don't know why this green border, I don't know. Somebody can explain it to me. I wish, like most games, you could see someone's rank in the HUD, like below their life bar, above it, whatever. Somewhere on the screen during a match, to see their rank and little icon. I mean, they created these little icons. You gotta, you know, you must use them, use your assets, you know, you put that money to good use. Also, when I go into a stream, I want to immediately judge the player. And then my last non-gameplay related request. So right now, I actually have most of my hours in this game. I play a lot of training mode because I just like to chill in training mode. I play this on Steam Deck on a Windows 11 install. Now, that's not ideal. And you can play offline pretty decently if you pick the Noxus stage. It's the best performing one so far. It's no-go on some of the other stages. But it's like, you can use it. You can use it for offline play. It works pretty well. Online, it's no-go. It's just not. It ain't gonna happen. But for offline, it works. So I can use it to bring to locals and have a setup because I have a Steam Deck setup. I don't have a modern console. But there's no reason why the offline launcher shouldn't be able to run on Proton. So for those who don't know, the way that Steam Deck works, it runs on Linux, and Proton is a compatibility layer to run Windows games in Linux, and it works really well. Like I'm assuming, but this is like a regular modern game. The only reason it can't run on SteamOS is because the offline launcher is dependent on Vanguard still, and it's dependent because they want you to be able to use your skins and stuff that you've bought or colors that you've unlocked in the offline mode, so it has to use your profile. So you have to launch the game online at least once to launch the offline version because it needs that profile, and it still has a dependency on Vanguard. So my request is to have a completely portable version of the offline launcher that's just static. It's the same for everybody. It doesn't read your profile. You're never going to get skins. You're never going to get like any kind of customizations that you would buy with money or unlocks. You would just have the characters, the colors, and the stages, and that's it. And you can just run it because most likely it would run under Proton, which means you could run it under SteamOS which means you wouldn't have to install Windows on the Steam Deck to run it, which means you could have a fully functional offline version of the game running on Steam Deck for tournament, local play, offline, you know, offline training mode, whatever, and it would probably run fantastic because it runs pretty much near perfect on the Noxus stage in matches offline. So it's right there, and let me tell you, Windows optimization for Steam Deck sucks. It cuts your overhead down by a lot. So please just make a completely bare bones version. I don't need the customizations. I don't need my skins. I don't need the $100 arcane back. I just need that shit to run. Now for gameplay stuff, this is all system stuff, and I'm not going to talk about characters because everybody's bitching about the same shit anyway, and the game's going to get patched a ton. I don't really care. I'm also not going to really suggest solutions because I'm not making the fucking game. I'm just putting my thoughts out there. So burst or break. So break, starting with the 75% burst. I'm just going to call it burst. I think in the game's current state, you can just start with burst. You can start with burst. I don't think it was just a symptom of like how the game was before, and like honestly, you could just start with burst. It feels weird. One, it just feels weird. I don't like, regardless of balance or whatever, the flow is weird. Like in terms of the flow of the game, amount of hits and things like that, the game feels good. It does take a long time. I think it's always going to take a long time unless it goes to like one round. But the flow of the game feels fine. It's weird not starting with burst. So the amount of burst that you start with, I think it's 75%, is like the least interesting amount of burst to start with because there's no decision to make. Well, there's one decision. If you get the hit, you can choose between max damage or limit strike. You usually do limit strike, and then like you both have burst, but they have like 50% or whatever. If you started with like 85, 90% burst, that would be like on the other side of the spectrum, because then you get the first hit, and if you get like a ground confirm, you're gonna do like 20% before you even launch them. And then right when you launch them, you're going to do a jump cancelable move, or you're going to have your, you know, assist out. Maybe you did a conversion, or you have freestyle and you have your other tag available. So now your opponent's taking some damage. They've taken like 15, 20%, and they're in a state where they just got burst, but their opponent could bait their burst. So now everybody has to, you know, you can bait burst, you can not bait burst. Do I burst in the first place? Have I taken enough damage? Do I want to just take this damage and say, fuck it, I'm going to use burst? I'm going to save it because I've already taken 25% damage, or I've already taken 20% damage. That would be infinitely more interesting. But also, like I said, you can just start with burst. It's like not, it's whatever. Number two, when the game's 2v1, I don't like being able to call regular assist. It just, like I said, nothing to do with balance. It's probably fine balance. It probably makes sense. Like not having active tag is obviously a huge disadvantage, but having access to normal assist feels like nothing has changed. It doesn't feel dynamic. Like a tag game, when somebody loses a character and it's 2v1, the game is different. However, like it doesn't matter, right? Like some games you got Virgil X Factor. Some games you got this, you know, some games you can never make a comeback unless you do something miraculous. I don't care about the balance so much. It feels like it's not dynamic at all, because you can do, yeah, you don't have active tag, but you can do the same sequences with the same timing. Like I use Jinx and Yasuo with Jinx assist. I just do the same thing. I just call Jinx Rocket Assist, except sometimes I do the Last Stand version, or the super version, right? That's it. I do the same exact thing, like nothing's changed. In Alpha Lab 1, like way back when the game was like first playable to the public, there was no Fury, first of all. I'll get the Fury in a second. But all you had was the Last Stand. You had the super assist, but it was just on a cooldown. It didn't use meter because you didn't have access to to do anything with the meter with your dead character. So they died, you had this 3-second cooldown, and you could use that Last Stand assist, and it had like a 10-second cooldown, and you played around that. And that felt cool. It felt awesome. I actually really liked it. And maybe that by itself isn't enough. I don't think that exact scenario is like perfect, but it felt cool because it's like you had something to play around. They're all character specific and they're all different, so it feels dynamic and it feels like something in the game has changed. And yeah, you're probably not going to make a comeback, but you have some tools to be able to do that. So yeah, I don't like calling the regular assist. It feels lame. It just feels lame. I don't know. And in Fury, the The main thing I don't like about it is it's just really just bloated. I mean, everybody's bitching about how like it does, too much damage, too much area, too much speed, whatever. The meter management is interesting because deciding on the fly, it's like, okay, do I want to save my character or do I want to burst and have my attack set up? It depends on the team, right? It depends on how good they are in Fury. Do I want to, it's like you're not guaranteed access to it, which I think is interesting. The speed and the damage and the chip damage on block are the three things that like don't make sense to me. The speed and the damage are just unnecessary. You just don't need them. The dash cancel is cool because it's something additional mechanically that you can do that's cool. The chip damage on block, I think, is the thing I dislike the most. And it's mostly because of design. Because chip damage on block is Darius's thing. That's what he does. He has a whole entire mechanic dedicated to chip damage on block. But I guess it's everybody's thing because everybody gets it in Fury. So it undermines his game design. I really like it preventing chip because chip is really good and you have a way to prevent it. And also it's not guaranteed. So that's cool. But again, the dash cancel's cool. And the speed and damage, like, you don't need that much. I mean, you don't need that much speed and damage. The dash cancel already gives you more damage in some situations. It lets you convert off of things you couldn't normally convert off before. That's very interesting. I really like the dash cancel. I really like it being like plus on block activation. I like it being a burst as well. Like, it's the same as burst until you can use it defensively, you can use it offensively, whatever. It's just don't make no sense to me. That's it. That's all I got. So hopefully this wasn't too boring for everybody that wants to discourse about characters being too good. I don't care at this point because it's still early access, but whatever. Anyway, later y'all.